Okay, if we take our seats, get started. We have 4 to 6 images tonight. So we have a large salon. Give you the mic here. I'm going to introduce to you a newly minted judge, Russ Stanton. He's being shadowed by Dak. Russ is going to be doing all the feedback, and so I'm just going to hand the floor over to him. Just put this on. And just speak normally and just say next.
Okay, I will.
Okay.
Well, good evening. I'm Russ Stanton. A little bit about myself. I've been a kind of passionate wildlife photographer for over 40 years. I like to tell people I've visited all 7 continents doing wildlife photography. I've done gorillas in Rwanda and polar bears in the Arctic and penguins in the Antarctic and tigers and India and so forth. But really what I like to do is the photography in this area. We really have a lot of wonderful wildlife in the area. So as was mentioned earlier this year, I had training. Dak and John Anderson, Nancy Cox started a program for training judges for these salons, and this is the part of my training for that. We had a choice of what salons we wanted to judge, and I was eager to choose this one because it's a subject that is kind of near and dear to my heart, and I understand. So with that, I think I'll just move along, and if we can.
Russ, before you get started, I need 10 minutes so I can read off the names and the scores, just so that we got to be out of here by 9 o'clock.
Oh,
to let you
okay.
So at the end, you need 10 minutes.
You need to do that.
Roughly, I mean, maybe 5 if I could just,
okay,
but at least 10, minimum 5.
Okay. So I just start here and
just say
I'll move right along then.
You don't have to rush, but
no, I will. So first slide. This slide I really liked. What I most liked about it was the natural setting. I'm one of those people that in early winter hang around the airport where they have lots of snowy owls. The problem is they're always on an insulator or a security fence or the tail of a plane. This is in a very, very nice natural setting. Normally, I would think a perfectly centered photograph like that would be a little bit boring, but here it really works because it emphasizes the bird coming right at you, which is a really great shot. In terms of improvements or suggestions, one thing that I might do, again, it's very subjective, would be to crop it a little tighter to make the owl more prominent. They're beautiful birds, and that's a beautiful shot of them. So, yeah.
What's the score?
Do I give the scores
Yes,
at the end?
No, right now.
Right now?
Yeah.
I gave that one an 8. Okay. Ruby crowned kinglet. First thing I'd like to do is congratulate the photographer for actually getting a picture of one of these things. They move constantly. They're always darting in and out of the brush. What I liked about this, at least on my computer, was a nice sharp detail on the bird. It makes it stand out from the background real nice, which gives some depth of field. It also captured the ruby crown, which is hard to get sometimes on these birds. The light and the sharpness on the subject are really good. One thing that bothered me a little bit was that kind of light column that comes in front of the bird. I don't know what you could do about that, Doug, other than when you're taking the picture, be aware of what you're taking so it isn't in the picture. So in fact, I can't even figure out what it is, but it is a little bit detracting. Okay, next.
Score.
Oh, scores an 8. I really like this photo because of mainly because of the mood. You can almost feel a kind of chilly early winter morning when you look at it. It has good composition. The colors and the light are natural, something you would expect to see. Um, the lines at the water's edge kind of lead you back toward the back of the photograph. Um, I think overall it's a very, very nice photograph, and I gave it a 9. Next. Okay, Dewey Manor. One thing I liked about it is that the uh, subject stood out from the background, the diffused background versus the more in-focused subject. Um, it's kind of halfway between a photograph and a silhouette, a regular photograph and a silhouette. I personally think if you're going to do a silhouette, do a real silhouette. Otherwise, your eye kind of struggles to get the detail out of the butterfly. Um, but I gave this one a 7. Next, Busy Beaver. What I like about it is it's a very natural presentation. I see these guys out around Port Snelling all the time, and that's what they look like. Um, they, this is a fun photograph in that it kind of catches some um, uh, vegetation in its mouth and so forth. It was taken at a nice low angle. I thought it could be a little bit lighter. If it was a little bit lighter, it'd bring out more detail. Again, it might have been my computer that I was looking at. And maybe it could be cropped a little tighter. It's my personal feeling that you don't always have to have the full animal in the picture to have a good picture of an animal, and focusing more on the head and the what it was munching on. Tightening that up, I think might improve it, but again, it's subjective. I gave that a 8. I really like this photograph. I gave it a 10. I like the composition of it. I like that it's a little bit off center. That's less boring. But I like the way the light spreads across the whole photograph as it comes toward you, and the shadow line leads right back to the focal point. Um, um, I like the foreground, that there's some ice in the foreground that adds to the depth of field, the feeling of depth of field. And the color is wonderful. So I gave it a 10. Next. Okay, I like nice bright colors. I like the detail, the fuzz, and the little bit of um, dew on the plant. At least when I was looking at it on my computer, um, the um, the bee itself seemed a little dark and not so sharp. It actually looks a little sharper here when I see it on the screen. Um, and so my suggestion would be to lighten and sharpen. Um, the um, uh, the eye, one of the things that the eye does is it tends to go to the area of the greatest contrast, and so therefore I would add some contrast on the bee. I gave that one an 8. Next. Okay, it's an if you want to have an interesting picture, you get an interesting subject. This is an interesting subject. I think catching either a bug or a seed adds some action to the photographs. It loses a lot of detail toward the back end of the bird. Some of that is leaves, light reflecting off the leaves, I'm sure. Um, the eye is rather dark. And again, one of the things with wildlife that you first look toward is the eye of the animal or bird. And so lightening that and giving it more detail might help. It might be too dark to do that. So I gave it an 8. Now, oh, one other thing is that branch is kind of bright underneath the bird. And I think toning that down a little bit would detract less from the bird and create more focus on the bird. So, next one. Well, I like this a lot. Um, somebody has courage to photograph a common. There's a lot of common things in nature that go unappreciated. And this kind of brings us out. It's a very cute little bunny. I using the monochrome treatment to it. You tend to focus more on the sharpness of detail rather than the color. And this has real nice sharp detail on the rabbit itself. I liked that there's a few little spears of grass in front of the rabbit, which provides some foreground and a little bit more depth of field to the uh, to the photo. So I gave that a 9. Next. Okay. Really, one thing that's nice about this photograph is the complementary colors. I like the sharpness of the bee in contrast to the more diffuse flower behind it. It really it draws the eye right to the subject, the bee. The I did kind of one thing is the fuzz on the back of the bee's back. I couldn't tell if that was fuzz or I couldn't tell if it was the diffused plant in the back. But overall, very, very good composition. It has, I give it an 8. Next. Morning swim. Couple of things I like. I like the swirl of the water. It provides some action, which is more fun than a flat surface. I like the sharpness of the focus on the eye of the duck on the left. I think the drawback is the duck on the right is looking away, and the face is in a shadow. So the I don't know that you could do a lot with that in post-processing, whatever. I think you just have to have the patience when you're taking the photo to wait for the duck to get in the right position to get a good photo. So I gave that one a 7. Next. Lunchtime. Uh, the I love the pose of the orangutan. It's very natural the way they sit, their posture. Like the overall composition of this photo. One suggestion I'd have would be to lighten and sharpen the face and eyes because that's the first thing you'll look at when you look at a photo like this. And so sharpening and lightening that would I think improve the photo. So I gave that a 9. Next. Okay, tricolored. I like the detail, the feathering detail on the bird, the kind of rich colors in both the bird and the surrounding water. I like the ripples on the water. You can tell that the back foot is moving. The one thing that I missed, and Dak pointed out to me, is the little droplets above the heron, like it had just shaken the moisture off of them. That was something I liked. Something that I think I would like to see in photographs like this is the animal turn like a 3/4, looking more at, the photographer. I think a flat side view, makes the photo look more flat. But it's a beautiful photo, so, I gave that an 8. Next. Okay, otter. I think it's a fun pose. It's kind of a comical looking.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, Representation of the otter. I like the way that it was, cropped with a vertical portrait presentation. Um, the subject was a little dark. Now, it's interesting when I look at my computer versus this, how different it can be. It looked much darker on my computer. Um, and I think the darkness covers up some of the detail. So one of my suggestions would be to lighten it a bit. But again, I think this is much better than what I saw when I looked at it in my computer.
Yeah.
So next.
Score.
Oh, score. 7. About to turn ugly. This is a fun photo. They're kind of comical animals. I've seen them in the wild. Couple of things that I would do on this photograph to make it work a little bit better would be to crop it tighter. I don't think that the 2 seals on the far right add a lot to the photo. And I think if it was cropped tighter, it would become more apparent that the one big seal is chasing the other one. And maybe a 5:4 ratio instead of, and I guess that's what, a 2:3 ratio. I think that would help, but and you'd also be able to get some of the surf with a 5:4 ratio. You'd be able to get some of the surf in it. I give that one a 7 also. Next. I love kestrels. This one appears to be eating something. I watched one evening down at the Cedar Avenue Bridge as one of these kestrels was on top of the telephone pole and it was going out and getting dragonflies. And so I'm wondering if this is a dragonfly that it's eating. It's an interesting, if you want to have an interesting photo, you get an interesting subject. So it is an interesting subject. I would try to get the bird looking toward you rather than away from you. And the photographer, it should be looking at the photographer more, I think. And again, it just takes the patience for wait for that bird or the animal to get in the right position to get the photo. So I gave this one a 7. I love everything about this photo. I don't think I changed anything in this photo. I think the branch just takes the eye right to the focal point. The colors are beautiful. It looks realistic. It doesn't look over processed or anything. If I did crop it and crop the bottom out of the bottom part of the branch off, it would still be a good photo, but I think the branch really adds to the photo. There's good detail in the branch also. So I give that one a 10. Next. Clouds over Tombolo.
Yep.
I like this, the composition, the depth of field, the rocks in the front, create that depth of field. The the other thing, like the spit or the shoreline leading out to it, leads it right to the focal point, which was great. I like the colors. They're very natural. And yeah, it it seemed a little, again, on my computer, I think it's my computer, this is the problem. It seemed a little dark, but again, that's part of the mood of this whole photo, so, I just think it's a really nice photo, and I gave it a 9. Next. Okay, again, beautiful color, the nice contrast of the bright blue and the yellow and the green. There's real nice detail in the feathering on the chest of the bird. Um, the tongue sticking out creates a little story of its own. The I think one thing that I would lighten the head a little bit to bring out more of the detail there, because it seemed rather dark. But again, I keep coming back to this, that these look better here than they did in my computer. So I gave this one a 9. Next. Okay, cranes at Creeks Meadow. I think this has real nice color to it. In the head of the crane, in the eyes of the crane, they have those beautiful amber eyes. The green streaks in the grass, real nice color. The nice sharp detail throughout, both in the eyes and the feathers. And the grass, well, it's busy. It doesn't distract from the picture because the grass is fairly uniform and the birds still stand out from it. So I've been to Craig's many times and I got photos kind of like this, but this one's a lot better than mine. So I gave this a 9. Next. Excellent photo. I really like the converging lines which lead the eye to the focal point. And the fact that the trees, they're larger up front and diminish in size. It gives you a deep perspective on this. The focal point, it's both the mountain, the way that it comes down and the fog, and then the way the converging lines come in, make it really give it a really beautiful depth of field to it. And I gave this one a 10. Next. Northern Lights. The good parts of this, the trees add some interest that you're looking up. It's a lot better than just the flat sky. And that burst from the middle creates kind of a focal point. Couple of things that I think could be improved. The colors look kind of artificial here. And I've taken photos of Northern Lights a lot, and they look too bright and too orange. It would also, if this was taken like over water or where it showed a horizon, I think it would create a less flat look and more depth of field. So I gave it an 8. Next. I love this photograph. It's really fun. It's an interesting story. You're waiting for that bill to snap on that poor little insect. It's very sharp and good detail. There's kind of 2 focal points: the eye of the bird and the bug. But it works in this case because the eye is looking toward the bug. It's nicely framed, horizontal framing of it. The one thing, the eye did look kind of over processed. Like I have this happen to me sometimes with topaz. The eye starts to look a little artificial because it's over processed, but it's a great photo, and I gave it a 10. Next. I keep saying it's one of my favorites, but this is really one of my favorites. It's a beautiful photo. The eyes are very natural and well done. The colors, the textures are all very natural. There's no question where the focal point is. The face is a little sharper than the rest of the body, which draws attention to that, which is the most interesting part of the photo. And frankly, I wouldn't change anything about it. So I gave it a 10. Next, okay. Another beautiful photo, reddish egret. Um, First of all, it's a very interesting and natural pose. I've been out enough to see egrets in the summertime, and they do use their wings as kind of an umbrella to shade the water. It takes the glare off the water, and they can see the fish better. So it's a very natural pose. I love the colors to it, the nice soft colors, and I kind of like the tension of this, where you see the beak of the bird almost touching the beak on the shadow. It kind of draws the eye to that. So I gave it a 10. Next. This is really a nice photo. I don't know much about ice spelunking. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
But I assume that this is the inside of a glacier. But the energy of the lines and the swirl, toward the focal point is just beautiful. It's energetic, powerful lines, and it's also aided by the person looking in the same direction, looking toward the focal point. So another thing that's nice about it is the person in the picture gives perspective as to the size. That you wouldn't be able to tell that without the person. So I thought it was really well done, and I gave it a 10. Okay, purple prairie clover with camouflage looper inchworm. And things I like, well, contrasting colors. The bright colors and focus on the clover flower. For the world of me, I could not find the inchworm here, but I'm not a botanist, so but Dak was able to point out where the inchworm was on this. So it's a nice photo. I gave it a 7. Next. This one, one thing I noticed that it said Z as though it was in a zoo. I would have never considered that to be a zoo photo. It looks so natural in the wild. And I've been places in Alaska and British Columbia, and this is such natural behavior. These young bears love to wrestle and play fight with each other, and they're like any young animal that does that, except that they weigh 400 pounds each when they're doing it. It's there's a lot I like about the photo. If I did anything to it, I'd maybe crop it more from the bottom, from the left-hand side. So it would emphasize looking down that one bear's throat and the wild eye on the bear. But it's a very good photo the way it is. The beads of water, I mean, sure, this was taken at a very fast shutter speed. They're nice and they caught them nice and crystallized. To some extent, it competes with the rest of the picture, but it does show the action also. So I gave this one an 8. Next. Another one again, that natural play fighting of bears. Really good detail in the fur, and then, bringing out the claws of the bear. It's kind of cute. There's nice depth of field to this photo, which is helped by the fact that that has the grass in the foreground, and it's more diffused in the back. Gives nice depth of field. I gave this one a 10. 10. Next. Just a beautiful picture of this bird. Um, the detail is really sharp. I love the eye looking right at you. It's engaging. It has excellent color and sharpness to it. It has a simple background that doesn't compete with the subject matter. Um, the um, the plant has been well done. But maybe if I were to try to make an improvement to this, I'd maybe crop it tighter with less of the plant, because the plant sometimes appears to kind of compete with the bird. But it's really well done, and I gave it a 9. Next. African elephant. I like the texture on the leaves, the mud, etc. on the leaves. I like that the photographer had the courage to crop in. You don't have to have the whole animal to have an interesting picture. Um, um, the attempt to use shadow to bring out the shape of the animal. I would, again, lighten the eye and sharpen the eye if that was possible, because that's such an important part of an animal or bird to be photographed, and maybe use a little less shadow um, on the right-hand side of the photo. But I gave this one a 7. Frost in the leaves, it's an interesting photo. I've not seen, noticed at least, this phenomenon in nature of how the points of the leaves collect frost like that. So it is an interesting photo. It has good texture. It has good color. I like the fact that they used the place, took it so the leaf is at an angle, which is a lot more interesting than straight up and down or across. I gave it an 8. Next. Okay, this photo, it strikes me more like a fine art photo, more than a nature photo. Um, uh, it the sharpness of the plant in the front versus, I think it's a plant in the back, um, does create some depth of field. I think its strength is that it conveys a mood, which I think is what the artist was trying to achieve. I gave this one a 7. Next. Cormorant nest building. Again, interesting subject, building the nest. I like the horizontal treatment of the framing to showing the motion of the bird. I keep coming back to this, but at least on my computer, the cormorant looked too dark. And I could see that there was detail in it, but I thought that lightening up would help bring more of that detail out. And I think it would if the cormorant was lightened a little more, but it looks better here than it did on my computer. I gave it a 7. Next. Pancake ice. I like patterns of nature. This photo captured some interesting patterns. You always kind of wonder what forces created those patterns. It's a simple, interesting story, and the photo captured it. I'm guessing that they used a drone. I'm not sure, maybe off a bridge or whatever, but they did a good job of capturing it. Um, one thing, there's kind of about a third of the way up, there's a hunk of ice that has kind of a bright circle around it that almost looks like a face. And one thing that it's one of those things that once you see it, you can't unsee it on it. But it was well done. And I gave it an 8. Next. Squawky Burry Owl. I think this captured the kind of goofy look that these birds tend to have. They're kind of comical looking. Um, uh, few things, the back leg isn't very visible. Again, it's not a big thing. It has really good color. The eyes are nice and sharp. Um, and I think it represented what the photographer wanted it to represent the story. And I gave it an 8. Next, Two Toms. I several things I like about this. I like the soft forest colors on the floor. I mean, that's where you find these birds and so forth, and it kind of picked up that soft light that comes through the trees. Um, I like the bright red. I don't know what it is, a dwaddle. I don't know what you call that around the head of the bird. But I like that bright red and blue because during the breeding season it does get very bright red. So it's very natural. I like the way the light picked up the iridescence on the feathers, and also that it lit up uh, uh, the whisker or of the bird
Beard.
the beard. That's that what they call it. Um, uh, Drawbacks, maybe the back of the bird is kind of in deep shadow, and the other bird is dark enough that it lost some of the detail also. But um, a nice photograph, and I gave it an 8. Next, long-eared owl. Uh, what I like about this is good use of color and sharpness to make the subject stand out. I like the interaction of the bird with the photographer. Um, it looks alert. There's about 5 of these that hang out by a dog park just south of the airport, and I've been out there many times trying to photograph them, and they just kind of sit there like a lump during the daytime. They're nocturnal. This kind of caught some action. I like the frost on the bird. It adds a nice little interest to it. So I gave this one. Let's see, where am I going? I gave this a 10. One question, and maybe the photographer can tell us later, is whether a flash was used, if that's how they got the bird, the standout. Okay, next slide. Juvenile loon. I like the real nice sharp focus particularly on the head. That brings, you see all the little feathers, you see some beads of water on you can see the very pupil, center pupil of the eye. The color of the eye, the neck, the something that I would suggest for improvement would be to add more contrast to the back of the mother, or well, actually, I think that's probably the bottom of the bird, because you kind of lose it. One of the beautiful things about loons is that pattern, and it would make that stand out. And right now, the pattern of the mother or the father kind of blends in with the pattern of the juvenile. And it looks a little confusing right there. But beautiful picture. I give it an 8. Next, brown pelican at sunset. A lot of good things about this photo. Nice sharp focus. Color is beautiful. I like the diagonal orientation of it. The one suggestion I might have is to include more of the wings of the bird, because that's one of the more unique features. These birds have one of the largest wingspans of any bird in North America, and including more of the wings would kind of emphasize that. But I gave this a 9. Okay, Ellis Island. I like the depth of field, having something in the foreground. On this, I like the mood. I'm not sure what the photographer wanted us to focus on, the light on the water on the horizon or the island. The I think a little more contrast would make it's kind of gray, and a little more contrast would make it a more interesting photograph. But I gave it a 7.
You all be back at 8:30.
Beautiful
Okay.
photograph. It's perfect in many ways. Natural color. The sharpness of the detail on the bird. The bird and the plant set off in the background gives a nice depth of field and distinguishes the bird from the background real nicely. There's a good focal point, the eye looking right at us. Maybe a little less saturation on the leaves would create more focus on the bird. But overall, very, very nice photo, and I give it a 10. Sense of Crex Meadow. I like things I like about it. The disappearing shoreline gives a feeling of depth. The clouds becoming less distinct as they in the distance creates depth also. I like the brightness and the color of it. It might be better if there was something in that big expanse of water, like a swan or a goose or something like that, to break it up a little bit. But I gave it a 9. Next. Leopard seal in Antarctica. One thing that they captured on this is that plan. I've been to Antarctica and I've actually taken pictures like this. The nice clean look of things. They don't have much pollution there. Everything has a nice clean look to it. But I think this slide looks a little brighter than what my computer did, because on my computer I could see a lot more detail in the snow around the seal. Drawbacks. I assume this was probably taken with a wide angle lens, which created that depth of field, and it distorts the seal somewhat. Another strength of it, however, is that it's kind of taken at eye level, and I presume what happened there is that this is a flow of ice, and that the photographer was probably in a Zodiac and taking the picture. That's what it looks like to me. There's good color in it. Overall, I gave it a 7. Next. this is a pretty picture, and in the right setting, it might look really nice on a person's wall. However, the colors don't look natural. They're too bold. The background, I don't, I'm trying to figure out what would make a background like that. Um, uh, this is a nature photography competition, and those colors aren't natural. So, and it makes it look a little bit flat. So I gave that one a 7. And then the last one, next, Loon in the Rain. Uh, I had given this an 8. If you look closely, the loon and then the babies and so forth, everything is real nice and sharp on them. You can see the color of the eyes, the green band in the neck and so forth. That's all very natural, and well done. I thought all of the droplets created a more confusing background. However, when I was talking to Dak, he liked that background. So again, this is subjective. I would have cropped it a little bit tighter and still got the droplets that are in focus. But again, it's a great photograph, and I gave it an 8. So.
How about a big hand for left stand of Jack Nearest?
Still there. I'll shoot your hand and I'll steal the mic.
Okay, we're just gonna go through these. We have 8 minutes left. For the 8s.
Yep.
Paul Cameron, Snowy in Flight. Michael Sweet, Ruby Crowned Kinglet. Barry Mullen, Busy Beaver. Joe Pierce, Early Morning Bumblebee. Jonathan Metzger, Northern Red-Billed Hornbill. Jonan Karatikin, Early August Mood. Ruth Beckfeld, Lunchtime. Rosalind Long, Tricolored Heron Feather Ruffle. Jeanette Mayo, Purple Prairie Clover with Camouflaged Looper Inchworm. Rick Graves, Frost on Leaf. Jonan Karatikin, Early March Vibes. Ruth Beckfeld, Pancake Ice Pattern. John Lemire, Two Toms. D. Honeysett Dritz, Northern Loon with Juvenile. Don Wendell, Sense of Space at Crex. Alan Schultz, Leopard Seal in Antarctica. Don Specht, Boone Family in the Rain. For the 9s, we have Mark Ye, Eagle River State Park. Rick Graves, Alert Cottontail. John Penoyer, Clouds over Tombolo. Will Rogers, White Neck Jacobin. Don Wendell, Cranes at Crex. Barry Mullins, Slight Disagreement. Joe Fierst, Golden Winged Warbler on Hemlock. Rosalind Long, Mr. Squawky Burrowing Owl. Michael Greiner, Long-Eared Owl. Richard Goetz, Brown Pelican at Sunset. For the tens, we have Carl Feigenshoe, Ice Black Beach Sunrise. Richard Goetz, Scissor-Tailed Flycatcher. Alan Schultz, Almsey and Dancing Fog. Don Specht, Great Egret with Snack. Paul Kamen, Screech Owl. Michael Sweet, Reddish Egret. Mark Ye, Ice Spelunking. Carl Feigenshoe, Kodiak Bears Wrestling. Will Rogers, Amazilia. And that's it. Good night. Drive safe, everyone. Thanks for coming. Got some Rolling Stones to end the night.